Hello, audience, and welcome to this week's episode of Career Chat. Today, we are going to switch things up a bit and talk to a professional career resource out in the community that will hopefully spark your interest and curiosity and give you some great resources to get started in your career journey. First off, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Shannon Crooks. I'm a librarian three at the Hillcrest Heights branch of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. Each week, we come to you and talk to you about new and exciting careers and resources. So hopefully you will join us on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. So now let me introduce today's guest. His name is Pat Philippe. I'm sorry, Pat Philippe, and he is with the Goodwill of Greater Washington. He's going to tell us about his organization today. So welcome, Pat. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Shannon, thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So I wanted to ask you about your organization. Tell us how long it's been in existence and where you're located.
So Goodwill of Greater Washington, we've been around for about 85 years. We're an approved 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our mission is to transform lives and communities through the power of education and employment. Right now, our headquarters is in Northeast DC, a block up from the Noma Gallaudet metro station.
Mhm.
However, we also have an office at Iverson Mall.
Oh,
So the
okay.
office is in the upstairs floor. And with what we do, we fund our mission primarily through diverse lines of business, including, everyone knows our chain of retail stores. We also have custodial services where we literally clean millions of square feet of office space. And we also have ground maintenance operations.
Mhm.
Uh, right now, we have about 800, a little bit over 800 employees. Prior to the pandemic, we were a little bit over 1,000. So we've had to make some cuts.
Mhm.
Uh, and in 2018, we launched what's called our Goodwill Excel Center. And this is a very unique tuition-free adult charter school. And it's open to adult learners in the District of Columbia. And what I oversee is our job training programs that focus on careers in high demand industries. And each program is designed for people that are unemployed and people that are underemployed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Okay. Awesome. So, when people come to you, do they enroll in a particular program or do you just, give them places to apply to? How does it work?
Well, we get referrals from a number of different resources throughout the community. Primarily, people do a search online and they come via our website.
Mhm.
So, as part of the screening and recruitment process, there is an application that they have to fill out. There is an information session that they have to attend. But one of the things that's unique about our program is that we also do one-on-one interviews, right? So we really want to get a sense of who the person are, what they want to do, because what we want to do ultimately is set you up for success,
Mhm.
right? A lot of times, if you don't know what you want to do, then we'll talk through that too. But we want to make sure that, for example, if you want to get into our healthcare program, that you don't have an issue with blood, for example, right? Like
Yeah.
you won't pass out if you have to draw blood on someone. So we look we our goal is to make sure that the person is successful. One of the things that I always impress upon my team is that it's not just about workforce development, it's about life development, right? And for to get a better outcome, I think that we do a better screening up front to make sure that the person will be a good fit for the program. And if it's not something they want to do, we have resources throughout the community where we can connect them to different things, because we fully realize that we may not be for everyone. We don't offer every single program that someone is interested in,
Mhm.
but if they're interested in either security, healthcare, hospitality, we're the go-to.
Okay. So you offer security and hospitality. What other programs do you offer for certifications?
It's unarmed security, hospitality, and healthcare. Right now, those are the three.
Okay. And so when people go through these programs, do they typically get employed after? What's your success rate?
In 2019, we had 94% of our folks, after they graduated within 3 months, 3 to 6 months, they ended up getting a job. 2020, because of the pandemic, it's a little lower. Uh,
Mhm,
However, we have we make connections throughout the community. We have employer partners that constantly recruit from our programs, and we have quality programming. So it's not just you're going to come to our program, let's just say for hospitality and only learn hospitality, right? So
mhm,
yeah, we do both hard skills and soft skills. So with
mhm,
the hard skills, for hospitality, you're going to learn, front desk reception, you're going to learn serve safe and all that good stuff. But we also do resume assistance, right? We talk about, the difference between a good resume and a bad resume. We talk about interview skills. We talk about cover letters. We even take it one step further. We talk about financial literacy, right? Because once you get a job, now you have to learn how to manage your money, right? We talk about effective communication in the workplace.
mhm.
So we go a little bit deeper than your typical program because again, it's about developing the whole person, not just making an employee for a company.
Yeah, and sustaining employment. I've
Absolutely.
talked on this show several times about, you get the job, but you need those skills to be able to maintain employment. It's so important that people get those. So I'm so happy that your program addresses those issues. Because I've had people come to the library,
Mhm.
they get help with the application. They come back and say, Shannon, I got the job. Thank you so much. And then, you know, one thing I'm concerned about is, do they have the skill set to continue to keep the job? Because they've come into the library several times where they've said they've lost their job and they needed help getting another one. So I'm so glad your program addresses that because
Absolutely.
it's hard for me to address it.
And when we speak with employers, that's um, one of the pieces of consistent feedback that we receive, that the hard skills are great, right? It's great that they can do security. It's great that they get a credential in, front desk. It's great that, they're a clinical medical technician. However, do they have those soft skills, right? You know,
Mhm,
do they can they come to work on time?
mm,
Right? Do they have that work ethic? Do they know how to communicate in the workplace? Do they know how to resolve conflict?
mhm.
I think some of those things that, based on feedback that we receive from the employers, then over the years we've made adjustments to our programming to make sure that the students, not only do we go over it, but they fully understand and grasp those soft skills concepts.
Mhm. So it's clear that you have follow-up with the employer. Do you have follow-up with the person that completed the program once they get employed?
Absolutely, absolutely. So once a person graduates from the program, we follow up with them 6 months after they graduate, right? However, once you start in a Goodwill training program, you're like family. So even after the 6 months, we leave the door open where if the student has any supportive services needs, any additional employment needs, they can always reach back out to us.
Oh, okay. Awesome. That's great because sometimes, people go through a program, they get out
Mhm.
of the program and there's no contact with them, no follow-up, no support. And so it's good that you do that so that, people can come back to you, they can ask questions, maybe they can get more training
Mhm.
on different areas to maintain and sustain that employment.
Absolutely.
So,
Life happens, right? You might lose a job, you might need resources for housing, for food, especially now, right?
mhm,
And when we understand that it's not just all about workforce.
mhm.
You might have some child care, elder care issues. Although we don't have a lot of these resources in house, we do have a list of community resources that we can refer you to. I think the one thing that we do well, though, is that even after we refer you to one of these community resources, we follow up to see, hey, how did it go?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So based on that feedback, then, if the organization ran out of funding, for example, or if their programs change or whatever happens, then we'll update our records to make sure that we give the correct information out to the next person.
Okay, that's awesome. I know that we get those questions too at the library about what resources are in the community. So it's great to know that you offer that. support to people. The next question is, what are the benefits of being in the program? Do you have any perks or incentives for people?
One of the benefits of being in the program, again, it's just that individualized attention that each student receives, right? Our career coaches, in partnership with the student, on the first day of class, they create what's called an individualized employment and service plan. And this plan has not only your professional goals, but it has your personal goals. And the coach, they regularly review that with the student. They gauge their progress, and if adjustments need to be made, then we'll make those adjustments. Another benefit of being in the program is that upon completion, students oftentimes they receive multiple credentials, which makes them more marketable to the employers. Um, and in terms of perks and incentives, we do have a small stipend that we give to students. It's $25 a week, but our hope is that that can subsidize any type of transportation costs or any minor expenses they have during the week. I know right now, because our trainings are virtual, we provide Amazon or Visa gift cards, and we'll typically mail that or email that to the students. Um, but they do have to, we have to they do have to, come to class on time, turn in assignments, and just be engaged and present in the class.
Mm. So when you talk about the program in terms of attending virtually, how long do they have to attend? How often are the courses? And what is it like overall to be in the class?
Well, with all of our training programs, so our security training program is 6 weeks,
Mhm.
hospitality is 5 weeks. This year, well, during COVID, we piloted our first fully virtual healthcare training program. It was in two parts, both 12 weeks. However, next year we're just gonna go straight through, and it's gonna be 27, 28 weeks. So students are expected to be in class 85% of the time, right? So if you miss more than 15% of class, after the first absence or the first tardy, you are going to, speak with our career coach. We're going to try to find out what's going on, if there's anything else that you need, because again, life happens. But if you miss more than 15% of the class, then maybe the timing of the training right now is just not right for you.
Mhm. Wow. So I know a lot of people struggle with access to the internet. And
Mhm.
so to attend your classes, of course, they have to have internet or some type of access. Do you provide any suggestions for people struggling with that?
Well, one of the things that we started doing is we have a laptop loaner program. So most of the students that come to the class, they have some type of technology or access to technology. For those that don't, as part of the screening and interview process, we get that information right up front, even before they start class. And if needed, then we provide them a laptop during class. We follow up with them. Um, we also have a partnership with Comcast Essentials, where now not only are we providing the hardware, but we're providing internet access, and we cover the cost of that as well. So
Wow.
as much as we can, we try to take away any barriers that the student may have. We can't take away everything, but I think that in this new reality that we're living in, um, we had to make sure that as much as we could provide both students and associates access to technology if they needed it.
Awesome. And also, viewers, you can come to any one of our branch locations and use the internet outside. As long as you have a library card, you can sit in the parking lot and use the internet. We understand that people are doing that while we're doing curbside. So if we see you out there, we may say hello to you, ask you, is everything okay? But you are free to do that. We leave our Wi Fi on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can utilize that outside. Some of our branches are struggling with trying to get the internet operational, which is the branch that I'm located at, Hillcrest Heights. But within the next week or so, we should be back up and running. So if you need internet, we're also here to support you with that as well. I just like to point that out. And then another thing we offer is a Khajiit, which is a device that you can take home and connect to the internet. As long as you're doing things that are educationally related, it's free, and you can keep it for a number of weeks. So that's also an option if you want to check out those items from the library. The next question, Pat, is when participants earn their certifications, what type of specialties are those certifications in, and how are they recognized by employers?
So another thing that makes our program unique is that you will actually receive industry recognized credentials, right? Where there are some training programs where you just get a certificate of completion. For us, I think that we understood that we had to go a step further because ultimately the goal is not only to get someone into the job, but to make sure that they can sustain it, right? So
Mhm.
for security, for example, you get six certifications. So you get unarmed security license for Virginia. You get an SPO license in DC. You get expandable baton certification, hand certification, aerosol weapon certification, as well as CPR and first aid, right?
Mhm.
So there's some programs where you just get, unarmed security license. But I think one of the reasons for our success is that our security employer partners, they know that then when they get a student, a graduate from one of our programs, that they're coming to the organization with more than just your basic understanding of security, right? It's essentially an unarmed SPO that you're getting.
Wow. And that's a huge certification in security. A lot of people want that, and they may work for a security company, but the security company may not offer it to them, may offer it to certain people. So that's awesome that you
Yeah.
offer that.
And most of our students, they start off as an unarmed security officer.
Mhm.
However, they're armed with the skills and the knowledge where if they wanted to go beyond that, they already have the credential, right?
Mhm.
Uh, for hospitality, they get a front desk reception certification as well as serve safe.
Mhm.
For healthcare, they get a certified clinical medical assistant certification as well as certification as a customer service professional.
Wow. That is so awesome. And all of this is free to them to participate, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. I know some certifications, there's a fee. So the fact that you offer them for free is awesome. And I hope our customers will take advantage of that and join your organization to try to get that support.
I
So,
mean, and we cover the cost of the certification, but having these trainings is only made possible by people actually going into the Goodwill stores, shopping at Goodwill, because the proceeds from the sales, they go to support our workforce development training program.
wow, I never knew that. That
So
is so interesting.
every time you shop at Goodwill, you're literally helping people improve their lives.
Wow, I
Yep, every time
never
you
knew that.
shop, donate. Yep.
Wow, I am going to spread the word, and hopefully our viewers will spread the word too, because a lot of people don't understand how nonprofit organizations work. That is amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, and although the programs are free to the participants, there's still a cost associated with it.
Yeah.
On average, there's a cost of about $5,000 to $6,000 per person. Um, so although again it's free to them, but we still have to find a way to make sure that we cover those costs because we have to, cover the cost of the vendors, cover the cost of the certifications, training, all the other, overhead that comes with that.
Wow, that is awesome. Wow. I'm so glad the Goodwill does that because it is so important that we strengthen our community and do everything we can to support people, especially now during COVID.
Yeah.
Um, so that is awesome. So, speaking of COVID, how has COVID impacted or changed the way you work with participants during this time?
COVID has impacted every organization and everything that we do. And we're no different. So when the pandemic began, just like every other organization, we had to take a step back and really ask ourselves, how can we best serve the community given this new reality. So COVID shifted the way that we deployed our trainings, but it didn't stop anything, right? So we're on a lot of national calls and some of our community partners where we hear about a lot of organizations, even some Goodwills, where they had to temporarily close their doors. And with us, I think that one of the things that helped us is that we had a really solid IT infrastructure and we just built upon what we already had. As a result, we launched our Goodwill Virtual Career Center. So this is where we offered career readiness workshops to anyone that was interested, right? Not just people that were enrolled into our program. So you didn't have to be enrolled in one of our trainings. You could just register, and our workshops were in, resumes, interview skills, financial literacy, dealing with stress, positive communication in the workplace, filing for unemployment. Um, we even had one, actually, our most attended workshop was the one around inspiration, right? Because the one thing that we found was that during COVID, people just needed to know that, things were going to be okay. So we had singers, we had people come in, give inspirational stories. Um, and when we didn't think that the turnout would be what it was, but again, it's about developing and reaching out to the whole person, not just workforce. Additionally, our security and hospitality programs, we're able to deploy those virtually as well. So now you can either take the trainings in person, you can take it fully virtual, or you can do a blended learning model. So until we have a better sense of what's going to happen with this pandemic, most of our trainings are going to be virtual, with the exception of security, where because there's those field certifications like handcuffing, baton, CPR, things like that, a small piece of that is done in person, still following, social distancing guidelines and health recommendations and things like that. Um, and the feedback that we receive from the students and employers has been great. Everyone is adjusting to this new reality. And the one question we asked ourselves was, as we move into this virtual space, will people be able to adapt? And people have shown that we can adapt. And again, the technology piece was a big barrier, because the one thing that we didn't want to do is have someone taking a 5 or 6 week course from their cell phones, right? That has proven not to be effective. However, there's a number of students in school that are doing that. So we just followed the examples of the schools. If you need a laptop, then we're going to find a way to get you a laptop. If you need access to the internet, we're going to find a way to get you access to the internet.
Mhm. That's so important. A lot of people may not be going to workforce development organizations because they feel like, I don't have the internet. How am I going to do the classes? Or I don't have a device to use. So, viewers, if you're listening, you can still contact them and they will work with you. And as I've said, the library provides internet access in our parking lot and around the perimeter of our branches. And we do have Khajiits if you need a mobile internet device to take home. So feel free to contact us and contact them if you need support around that issue. Um,
Shannon, we want to clarify that, the loaner laptop program, it's only for people that are enrolled in our training programs,
okay.
not for the community. I wish we had enough resources where anyone that needed a laptop, we could provide it. And I'm sure we're going to get to that point one day, but for right now, it's really only for people that are enrolled in our training programs if they need it.
Okay. So
Okay?
enroll in the program so that you can get support with that. Yes. But ours, our Khajiits for internet is just for educational purposes. So anybody can get those if you need
Gotcha.
those devices from the branches. So keep that in
Awesome.
mind, because we usually have a lot of people checking those out when we're open, but people may not understand that that's still a device that they can check out now since we're doing curbside. So I'd like to point that out
That's
to
good to know.
people.
Look, I might have you come on to one of our training sessions and do a presentation on
Yeah.
the Prince George's County Library System. You guys have, I didn't know this. So I
Hmm.
think a lot of students will take advantage of that.
Yes, a lot of people don't know that we have those devices.
Okay.
I believe we purchased a few more because we knew the need for internet was so great. So a lot of them haven't been checked out because people don't know we have more to be able to check out to people right now. So just trying to spread the word. But yes, we would love to join you and let your uh, participants know we have that service available.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then, you've answered this question, but, do you connect people to employers in the area? What type of partnerships do you have? That sort of thing. If you have any additional input to what you've already said.
Sure. I mean, like I said, that's one of the benefits of the program. Now, we cannot guarantee employment. No organization can guarantee employment. However, we
Mhm.
do have a number of employer partners in each industry that we train that constantly hire graduates from our programs. And the one thing I love about Goodwill is that, you ever been to a job fair and you go to the employer and they just refer you back to the website and they really don't have any jobs that are open? So for each cohort, after each cohort that we have, part of it is a hiring event, right? And the employers that come to the hiring events are our employer partners that actually have vacancies and are hiring for positions. So there's a number of times where an employer might hire people on the spot. They might give conditional offers. For example, our last security training that ended, MGM came to the table and we had 14 or 15 graduates. I believe 8 or 9 offers
Wow.
ended on the spot. And then we had a few other employers that came a few days later and hired um, a few other of the remainder of our folks.
Mhm.
And I think maybe we have maybe 1 or 2 that haven't been placed yet for various reasons. Um,
Mhm.
but these are the type of partners that we have. So it's not just, I think a lot of times people use that term partnership very loosely. Um,
Mhm.
However, we're very specific in our partnerships. And even our employer partners, not only do they come to our hiring events, but they're engaged in our training as well. So they might come and do a presentation on, a day in the life of this position. Um,
Mm.
with our hospitality program, we actually have students go to the various hotels. They do job shadowing, they ask questions to the staff, and some of them even they work at the front desk, they check people in, they do customer service. Some of them have done housekeeping, so they get a real live sense of what the job entails. So it's not just theoretical, right?
Mhm.
Make sure that they get that hands-on experience.
That's awesome because some workforce programs, they don't do that. You just go to class, you take your test, or you go through your training or your instruction, but you don't ever get the chance to practice what you've learned. So I love that you do that. And then that also gives the participants an idea of what the employer is looking for.
Absolutely.
So when they go to the interview, they can say, "Hey, I've worked with you or I've shadowed. I know what you're looking for in this position. I think I can offer that to you if I was hired in this particular position."
Absolutely. And I think that it's just as equally important where once they go through the training and they get that hands-on experience, if they say, you know what, this isn't for me, let me pursue something else. Right.
Mhm.
I think that's just as valuable as what we are talking about before.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that. I have 3 degrees. My first career, I think I loved it, but I think if I had known a couple of things that I learned after I graduated and started working in that field, I might not have went that direction.
What
I
field were
might
you working in?
direction. I was a social worker for
Oh,
15
wow.
years. I love the job. I
Mhm.
love working with people. Don't get me wrong, but there's an added layer of stress to that position that, I didn't quite understand until I was actually in the field.
Yeah.
So I think if I had been aware of that, I still would have picked a career dealing with people, which I'm, doing librarianship now, which is similar, but I don't take librarianship home with me. I
Gotcha.
don't have to continue to work beyond the 8 hours that I've worked, which
Yeah.
really works for me. So, yeah, some people need that experience so they can really understand what it is to be in that field. It's not just about obtaining employment. It's about obtaining employment that you're going to enjoy going to every day and get something out of it.
But I also think that too, like you said, is that experience that you went through, it prepared you for where you are now, right? And one of the things that we tell our students is that no experience goes to waste, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can learn from every single position, internship, volunteer opportunity that you had, right? And that really helps you um, focus on the career that you ultimately wanna pursue. Right.
Yeah, that's
Even prior to me getting here, I was in finance for a long time, right?
mhm.
I was working for a local bank, and the one thing that always stuck with me is, so we're out here, giving loans to people, but how do we know that they'll be able to not only pay it back, but sustain it for the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And I actually worked in Southeast. So we had a number of people that were coming in that were unemployed trying to get loans. And for me, it's just, I could make that connection. So I started doing workforce development workshops for the
Mhm.
bank, right? So after hours, I
Wow.
would do resume workshops. I would do interview skills for people that were interested, and I made it free to the community.
Mhm,
And really, that's how my career in workforce got started. And then I
mhm,
started doing resume development for my staff, right?
mhm,
Because ultimately, my thinking is that as a manager, my job is to make sure that you get to where you're supposed to be, whether
mhm,
that's within the organization or outside the organization. Um, I'm partly responsible for your next step, right?
mhm.
Not everyone looks at it that way, but I know that, I may not be in an organization forever and you may not be at an organization forever. But if I can help you get one step closer to where you're destined to be, hopefully you'll take that and help someone else.
Wow, amazing story. It's about lifelong learning and helping and teaching people. I feel the same way. And I did take a lot of the skills that I used as a social worker and I apply it here in the library. So it's so true that nothing is a waste. Every experience you can learn from, you can build upon and grow from. But, it's all about figuring out who you are. And like you said, get into that next step, using what you have to elevate yourself. So that's
Right.
awesome. Wow. Love that story. Um, so the next question is, if someone comes to your program, they're successful and they're saying, okay, I want to take this a step further, like we've talked about, and maybe go to college or be in an additional vocational program, do you connect them with any trade schools or colleges or support them in that goal?
Absolutely. I mean, we tell our students that, for some of them, our programs are really a launching pad to bigger, better, and greater things, right? So we have some students, that, they want to go on to some type of post-secondary education. Some students, they want to get some type of additional vocational training to hone their skills and develop professionally. And as part of that employment and service plan that I mentioned earlier, if a student expresses interest in that, then we do our best to connect them to those resources. But again, more importantly, we follow up with them to see if they connected and if they followed up and what the next steps are, and if we need to make any changes to their personal and professional goals. So some people may not go into employment right away. Some people may go into employment while simultaneously, getting additional education, training, and so on. But as much as we can, we try to connect them to those resources. And part of what we do too is that sometimes we have to have those hard conversations with them too. You know, if they want to take some type of post-secondary education, but we found that they're having attendance issues or some other things are going on, then that's part of it, right? We have to have realistic conversations and figure out ways to correct correct the behavior and plan accordingly, because again, our goal is not to set them up for failure, right?
Mhm,
We want them to be a success. And sometimes we have to talk through a lot of things. I think one of the things I've learned in workforce is that you're not just a workforce professional, right?
mhm.
Sometimes you're a financial counselor, a relationship expert, child therapist, like all these things come under your fall under your title. But again, it's about building that rapport, having those positive relationships with the students um, well enough so they can tell you and share with you a lot of the things that they otherwise wouldn't share with anyone else.
Mhm. I love that you guys do that because it's so important for the person who is coming to you for help with workforce get support. And that may mean they have questions in different areas of their life so that they can, get those issues addressed so they can be successful on the job. And a lot of places they just focus on the workforce,
Right.
can I get you connected with this job? Do you have this or that skill? But it's more than that. And
It
I'm
is.
so glad you focus on the
Yeah.
entire person. So important.
Yep. Yep. Because we know, and, if you talk to any seasoned workforce professional, you really can't talk about, workforce development without talking about education, right? You really can't talk about education without touching on, housing and supportive services and homelessness. So there's an overlap in each thing. So I think you do a disservice to the student and the client if your only focus is workforce.
Hmm. I agree with that. Wow, so awesome that you do that. Um, do you have a particular success story that you would like to share about any of your participants that have went through the program?
Um, yeah, actually, one that we just heard about a couple weeks ago. So I'll just call him Christopher G, right?
Okay. All right.
Christopher G. He started at our security training program in Prince George's County. So he started about, I think, January of 2020, and he graduated February.
Hmm.
Um, so, like I said before, as part of the training, we hold a hiring fair with our employer partners in that particular industry. So Christopher, he interviewed with all the employers and he was essentially hired by one of our security partners. And he's been working full time since March 2020. I think
Hmm.
his starting salary was $14 an hour. I have to check what he's making now.
Hmm.
Um, but he also met our 6 months of retention. Like I said before, we do follow up. So we follow up 3 months and 6 months, and he's still working there.
Hmm.
We found out last week, 2 weeks ago, was that he applied to work for a local police department, and right now he's awaiting word on whether or not he was hired. And the best news about this is that he recently got engaged, and we're waiting for him to give us a date. Give us a date on when they're going to get married.
Hmm.
Either show up or show up virtually and love on him and congratulate him. And he's just one of the many stories like that we see. So we're really, really proud of Christopher because, and I'm not going to get too much into, his background and what he was doing before, but
Hmm.
he's really come a long way and we are super, super proud of him.
Wow, that is awesome. Great story. And then his life really came full circle. Once he got that job, he, sustained it.
Mhm.
Now, his personal life is also improving. Love to hear that. Um, wow, so great. And congratulations, Christopher. Maybe you're watching. Um, we wish you nothing but continued success. Um, Next question is, so do you have anything else that you think would be interesting to share with our viewers, or you think that they would want to know, or anything that would captivate them about your program?
Um, I, for me, first, I'm honored to work for such an amazing organization and not to get, super spiritual or anything like that, but I really look at the work that we do as ministry, right? Because we're literally helping people transform their lives through education and work. We also have a phenomenal CEO, right? Catherine Malloy. Anyone that knows Catherine, she is very, very down to earth, has a scary memory and scary recall. However, one of the things I noticed when I first got here is, unlike any other CEO that I've worked for, when you speak with Catherine, she makes you feel like you're the only person there, right? And that's for us, that's for students. She never misses a graduation, especially now virtually. So we have phenomenal leadership. And I think, one of my favorite movies is Remember the Titans, right? And
Hmm.
in that movie where the two linebackers were going back and forth, and the one linebacker says, well, if you want this to change, you have to understand attitude reflects leadership, right? I'm paraphrasing. He said, attitude reflects leadership. And I think the attitude of the organization is a direct reflection on the leadership. Um, and also, like I said before, is every time that anyone shops at a Goodwill, the profit from those sales, they go right back into our mission, which is our workforce development division that provides education and training to the people in the community that need the help the most, right? So without community support, Goodwill will not be here essentially, and we would not be able to get help to those in the community that need it the most.
Mm.
Um, and I think that, if someone were to look into Goodwill, aside from workforce development, aside from the retail stores, aside from the cleaning and custodial services, we're also getting into sustainability now, right? Because we realize that, what we do has a direct impact on our environment. So we just built a new sustainability center in near Andrews Air Force Base. So you'll definitely hear more about that. It's online. It's fully functional. There's a few more things that we have to work out, but sustainability is something that we definitely believe in.
Wow, that's awesome. So, viewers, again, if you are looking for support with workforce development, reach out to Goodwill of Greater Washington. And then for other people that would like to support the cause, continue to support Goodwill by donating and also purchasing items from there so that they can give back to the community with workforce development. Um, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show
Well,
today, Pat. I enjoyed learning all about Goodwill of Greater Washington. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know before. I was very familiar with your organization because you're right down the street from the branch that I work for in Hillcrest Heights at the Iverson Mall. I just love everything about your organization. Continue to do great things and have more success stories. Hopefully, you can join us for some future programming to support the community with workforce development. And again, finally, just let everybody know how they can apply if they choose to come on board and do some of your programming for workforce.
The easiest way is just go to dcgoodwill.org, or you can just search DC Goodwill. You can Google DC Goodwill. You can also follow us on all social media platforms. And if by chance you can't find us on anything, email me directly. Pat, P-A-T, dot Philippe, Philippe, at dcgoodwill.org.
Thank you for that, Pat. And then the final question is for me. What are some resources that the library offers people looking for support with workforce development? Well, you can go to our website 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at pgcmls.info. From there, you can go to our online library and you can access our jobs and careers section. On that area of the website, you will see that we have Brain Fuse and our Learning Express library. You can complete career assessments, search for jobs, create a resume, get expert feedback, and receive interview tips from a live job coach on our Job Now section. And then there's also resources designed to help veterans navigate the Department of Veterans Affairs, prepare for college, and brush up on any job skills. There's also step by step guidance to discovering your interests, choosing a career, preparing a resume, finding schools and programs, and searching for job openings. And then for any high school students out there, if you are looking to go to college, you can take practice tests to prepare for college entrance exams. Maybe you're looking for some part time employment, that's available too. And then for anyone looking to get citizenships, there is citizenship resources there for you as well. Again, thanks, Pat, for joining us on the show. I'm Shannon Crooks, Librarian 3 at the Hillcrest Heights branch of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. Hopefully, you will join us again next Wednesday as we explore a new and exciting career or speak with an organization that's directly involved in workforce development. Have a wonderful day and stay safe. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Thanks and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.